So I told you the 3 phases of disc degeneration all starts with disc, and I told you it is a degenerative process. Most often it can start very early in your age group also, let it be 10 years or let it be 50 years, but thing is it goes through 3 phases. First is a stage of disc dysfunction, later on a stage of instability, later on stabilization, right. So let us see what happens in the stage of disc dysfunction. Now disc, I told you the periphery is made up of annulus fibrosus, central part you have nucleus pulposus. The nucleus pulposus has lot of glycosamine glycans, right, lot of water in it, and this takes in lot of pressure but doesn't get deformed. It has a extremely strong resilient stability as well as strength, right. That is one part of it. It takes lot of forces, compressive forces, but it doesn't get disturbed. But as you age, the composition of the proteinaceous structures as well as glycosamine glycans change, okay, as your skin changes as you age. Similar changes, what those changes that happen in your skin or even your lens, the same changes happen in the disc, and ultimately it is degenerated. Once it is degenerated, it cracks, it fissures. Once it has fissured, now once you apply a load on it, now these degenerated products have a tendency to skip and try to protrude out, go that way and this way, instead of taking the pressure and stay there without getting deformed. That is what is going to happen. The degenerative changes within the vertebral disc, initially there will be a small circumferential tear in the annulus, and then these tears increase, and once these tears increase, what happens, the nucleus pulposus now finds a way whenever it is pressed upon, and this tries to go out. Most commonly it goes out posteriorly where there is a spinal cord, right, at all levels. If you can see, this is the normal disc, a desiccated disc and a degenerated disc. It's cracked, fissured, and once there is a tear in the annulus fibrosus, these degenerated material, it tries to go out and occupy the space occupied by the spinal cord. Now once this is the level of the disc height, once this has got degenerated and trying to go out that way, this way, what happens, the height comes down. Once the height comes down, will you decrease in your height over a period of time? To a certain extent, hardly 1 centimeter or 2 centimeters, but thing is, your muscles which are there, now they play a major important role when the height is trying to come down by acting as studs. What I told you about the dynamic supports is here. Now there is a lot of strain on the muscles to maintain the length, because the height has decreased, because it has got degenerated. Now muscles have to maintain the length and maintain the stability of the spine, because once the disc height has come down, now the spine has become more mobile. It can go front, go back, this way, that way. Now once this has become more mobile, as it is, suppose it is bending forward, there is a stretch on the ligaments which are aback. If it is bending sideward, there is stretch on the ligaments on the opposite side. The stretch of the ligaments will cause pain, right. Now at this phase, once this is happening, body tries, if at all you are young enough, the muscles try to protect this instability phenomenon by becoming taut or becoming spasmodic at that point of time whenever it is trying to become unstable, and then supports the spine. This is called stage of instability. Once the disc has got degenerated and decrease in the height, now you have a stage of instability, and once you have a stage of instability, once there is a decrease in the height, what is happening to the soft tissue structures which are aback, which are covering on the posterior aspect which are between two laminae, which is called as ligamentum flavum. Now which was the ligamentum flavum which was like this stretched, once there is a decrease in the height, what will happen, the ligamentum flavum will buckle like this, and this buckling again, where will it buckle, into a space, and the space is your neural canal, which is happening from back. So ultimately, just because of buckling also, the space occupied by the spinal column is decreased, or the spinal cord is decreased. This buckling happens like this. Once the disc height has decreased, there will be a buckling of the ligamentum flavum into the spinal column, decreasing the neural canal diameter. Now at times, then once this buckling is happening, what happens, there will be an extreme strain on the facet joints, right. These facet joints, because of the inappropriate rubbing and all those actions over a period of time which is happening because of instability, they get degenerated. Once they get degenerated, body tries to form new bone so that it can get stabilized. Now these facet joints which are there like this normally, they hypertrophy. they become bigger because the instability is pushing that way, this way. So body tries to form new bone and stabilize the facet joints, and it forms more new bone. And what is happening whenever a new bone is forming at the facet joint? It again goes and encroaches on the spinal canal. This is one. Flaval buckling is there, the new growth is happening from there. And now once the disc is trying to degenerate, one more thing happens is the body tries to form a bone along the contour of the protruding disc, and this also comes and occupies the spinal canal. Ultimately what is happening is, either because of the facetal hypertrophy, or because of the ligamental flaval buckling, or because of the disc being protruding, getting into the spinal canal, and again a new bone being formed here, what has happened to the spinal canal? You see here, grossly decreased. Okay. Now this is the bone formation, spur formation, which normally occurs whenever there is a degeneration of the spine occurs. And if it happens anteriorly, you are safe. If it is happening posteriorly, what happens? Whole of this canal will be occupied. Right? Now this occupation of the spinal canal by these extraneous structures is called as lumbar canals or canal stenosis, spinal canal stenosis. Once the canal is stenosed, what is happening? It is pressing on the spinal cord. If the press is there for so long a time, it ends up in degenerative changes within the spinal cord, which are permanent. Now you should see and identify at what phase the patient is, right? And then this phase of more new bone formation and ultimately ending up in a lumbar canal stenosis is called a stage of stabilization. What is happening is, body is trying to stabilize the unstable spine by forming more bone, but unfortunately this more bone is going at pressing on the spinal cord. This is called a stage of stabilization. Ultimately ends up in spinal canal stenosis like this. See, pinching, almost pinching, and what happens to the spinal cord there? It's pinched up, strangulated. Okay. Now it so happens there is one good study. Now we are always dealing with something structure which is acting as a buffer called as disc. Now the central nucleus pulposus acts as a ball in the disc, and the annulus fibrosus acts as a spring. Right? And there is one another analogy where you have put some water in this basket where there are this is called hoop. These are hoops. Okay. Once you increase the pressure in the water tries to go away by breaking these hoops. Okay. The same thing happens in the disc also. Once the disc has got degenerated and the annulus has become weak, once you apply more and more pressure, it tries to go out. That stress, that's called as hoop stress. That stress what you apply is called as hoop stress, and once there is a degeneration, it tries to go out. When will this go out? It goes out at two stages. One is when there is a degeneration in the annulus, where there is a rent and it is allowing the nucleus pulposus to go out, one. And second is once there is a increased pressure in the disc. When will there be increased pressure in the disc? There is a study. The increased pressure in the disc will be least when you are lying down and highest when you are standing and bending. So that's why we always ask our patients, whenever you have a backache, okay, don't bend directly on your back. What will happen if you bend? The intradiscal pressure will be the highest, and you have every other chance that whatever the disc material that has not come out till now will come out. Right? The next highest pressure will be in sitting posture. So better to avoid these two things, bending and sitting, prolonged sitting, highest disc pressure. The least is in lying down, intermediate is in standing. It is always either, we should always ask the patient either to stand or to lie down, neither to sit or stand and bend. Right? This is a study which shows the intradiscal pressure. If the intradiscal pressure is increased in a degenerated spine, which acts as a hoop stress, and then ultimately hoops give away and the water tries to come out. If water goes, nothing will happen, but if the disc material goes and presses on the spinal cord, you will end up, and you end up in all the complicated issues of spinal cord injury or a compressive myelopathy. Right? This is how it happens. So many disc prolapses have been described. This is called protrusion, this is called extrusion, this is called sequestration. Okay. Once the disc material is trying to go out, what is happening? If it goes dead central, it will press on the cord. If it goes lateral, it will press on the root. And this is a radiograph which shows this is a protrusion, this is an extrusion, this is see, they're all a spectrum, right? This is a protrusion, this is extrusion, this is sequestration. Like, unfortunately, I could not get a picture of sequestration in the very same spine. This is an extrusion actually, okay. and nearing sequestration. Actually, if at all there is a nipping of this will ultimately gets cut off from this portion and then lies somewhere in the canal. That is called as sequestration. Frankly speaking, this is a extrusion, this is a protrusion, all the others are protrusion. Sequestration is like this, it lost its contact with the native structure and it is lying loose in the canal. Okay. Now what happens once the disc protrudes, extrudes or sequestrates? Now suppose say this is L5 vertebra and this is S1 vertebra. Now once there is a disc, that is L5 S1 disc, also called as L5 disc, if it is protruding into the spinal canal, what happens? Now either it can press on the cord, but your spinal cord stops there down at L1 level. Now it is not going to press on your cord. Ultimately it will press on your phylum terminal, which literally causes only little amount of symptoms when compared to the spinal cord. Second, once it presses upon the roots, then you will have most of the symptoms. But whatever the cord dura mater that is there going down, it can, if those roots are also compressed because of central disc, you have issues with those roots also. But majority of the problems will come at this level. What is the level? Here at the level of L5 S1 disc, there is one root going out called as L5 root. This is called exiting nerve root, right? At the same level there is one another root which is traversing this disc space and goes down the S1 vertebra, and through the hiatus it tries to come out. So there are two nerve roots at one place which might be affected because of a disc. What are those two nerve roots? One is L5 root and one is S1 root. This L5 root is called as exiting nerve root, S1 root is called as transmitting nerve root. So whenever there is a disc at L5 S1 level, right, two roots can be involved. If it is far lateral, you have a root, that is exiting nerve root being involved. If it is somewhat either on the midline or just paramedian, you will have an affection more on the transmitting nerve root. Am I clear here? Now even if you don't understand these terminologies, just try to understand one thing. This is L5 vertebra, this is S1 vertebra. If a L5 S1 disc is protruded or extruded, what will happen? It will affect two nerve roots, that is L5 and S1, simple, right? That's it.